Welcome to the Daily Dose of B podcast. I'm your host, Brittany, and I'm about to give you a window into the mind of yours truly. In a world where journaling is passé and self-awareness is deficient among us all, here's your Daily Dose of B. Welcome back to another episode of Daily Dose of B podcast. And if you're watching me and you're wondering why I'm in a moving vehicle, it's because I'm a single mother, and if I wasn't a single mother and a business owner, I would have time to sit on my own alone and create these podcasts for you by myself. But unfortunately, Mama has got to work and pay attention to her kids, and now is the time that I'm free from them on a Monday night. So I'm on my way to see my mother, so I figured what better time than right now to do my podcast for the day. And I said that I was going to upload them to YouTube. I want to make good on that promise. Like I said, a lot of the people that have told me they've been listening are saying they like the alternative of watching me speak. And I know men are more visual in general, and I kind of hope that a lot of my audience is men, not because I think I'm going to like meet my future husband because I recorded a podcast or anything silly like that, but because I think that sometimes men get caught up watching other men tell them like how to own women or like teach women a lesson, or I don't know, just like weird stuff like that. And I think it's kind of unhealthy to ask your same sex that you don't want to pursue a relationship with, like how to pursue a woman. Like, I just think that's odd. So yeah, I do kind of hope men listen to me on the topic of love and kind of what I'm thinking and like sort of how I see the world. I just see my listenership that way. And also like women who relate to me and relate to my struggles, because I know a lot of women who have struggled either with dating, with their weight, with their self-image, that don't necessarily feel represented because they're not like rah sis boom bah, I just want to be an overweight person, but they're also like, I don't also want to be criticized for going through a hormonal or inflammatory weight struggle, which most of us, if we're having a weight struggle, it's because our hormones are out of whack, our sleep is off. There's usually a good reason. As far as like people who are in like the mid sizes, like once you get to morbidly obese, like I'm sorry, it's probably a food issue more often. But anyway, none of that is what today's topic is, so enjoy that sidebar. Today's topic is learning to let go, and it's about realizing that there is predestination in what you lose, right? And I think about all the things that I have lost in my life, right? Whether that was my idea that I would be, a stay-at-home trophy wife to a husband. And to be fair, like, I don't think I wanted that when I was in my 20s. I think that I always thought I'd have this high-powered career because I did well in school, and so why wouldn't I become a lawyer? Why wouldn't I, get a degree and bill out, $800 an hour? Like, why would I not be the person that did that? I think everyone who knew me was like, Brittany is going to be that girl, like running things. She's going to win all the debates. And, so I don't think I really came into my own on that until I had a kid. And I think a lot of women go through that. Like, they think they have a lot of aspirations, and as soon as they hold that baby, they're like, this is it. This is my aspiration now. And that's definitely been the case for me. I liked my motherhood so much, and I felt so connected to my job as a mother that I felt like I needed to be there for my kid as soon as I had her, almost 10 years ago now. So almost 11 years ago I was pregnant. So wild to think about. And once I held that baby, like, I knew that was my job, that was my purpose in life. And I think a lot of healthy women discover that. And so that was like my first sort of loss that I suffered, sort of like the loss of that self, that identity of who I was before I had a baby. Before I had a baby, I was like Brittany, the girl who aced school, who never had to try hard and always got great grades. I was like Brittany, the girl who loved going to karaoke and loved line dancing. there were a lot of just things that like, I was kind of a hard ass, you know, not because I wanted to be or because I truly was, because I think I was always a very sensitive little soul, but I think that I put on that mask because it made me feel like I could survive. And so I had to lose some of that in becoming a mother, because mothers have to be so tender. And I found my inner tenderness immediately. I was so protective of how my baby was fed and how she was cloth diapered and what foods she was given and how she was fed and where she was. I wanted her with me all the time. So even though my ex didn't want to support me financially ever, I, found a nannying job, even though I was going to school for education, because I wanted to be with her. And I just switched all my classes to online classes because it just wasn't important anymore. Not anything that I was doing was as important as her. So I lost that in that transition, but it wasn't truly a loss. It was God's provision or the universe or how it was conspiring serendipity or whatever the secular word is for it. It was a beautiful and necessary transition where I had to lose something. And by losing that thing, I gained something greater. And that was just the first one. There's just been so many in my life, friendships, professional relationships. I had a professional relationship. I was just talking about this with another friend that she taught me a lot about doing sales, doing in-person sales, doing sales over the phone, things I would have been way too shy to try on my own. But I did because I really wanted to be able to make sales. It was unrelated to anything I was doing, but I was helping her out by doing trade. She was getting me to do modeling work for her. I was getting those photos in exchange for doing modeling work and helping her with sales for her photography business. And we had been friends for a while. I always looked up to her artistry. I thought she was an incredible photographer. I always wanted to work with her, but her costs were really high because this is a high price tag artist, and I never wanted to ask her for a discount. So I started working for her to get these images, and the relationship ended really, really poorly. I was in the beginning of my divorce, and it was like a crisis for me. It was a personal crisis because I didn't know that I was going to leave my husband at that time. I didn't know how I was going to handle the news that I had gotten, and I was scared. And I told her I was going to have to take a step back from all the things I was doing for her. I was doing social media marketing. I was doing calls for her. I was fielding emails. I was doing a lot. And all of this was in trade. I was not getting paid dollars to do any of it. And I told her I needed to take a step back because I was having a hard time. And I guess she thought that was only going to be a couple days. Well, a couple weeks went by, and she was okay, this is my business, and I can't just not have my business, running essentially. And while I understand the sentiment as a business owner now, I was a business owner then too. I just wasn't doing as much business. Even though I understand what that's that pressure of I have to keep this going. This is what's feeding my family. I did not understand the thing, how she could be so cold to what I was going through, because the personal situation that I was experiencing with my husband at that time was something that she had also experienced with her husband at another time. So I guess I expected, which I shouldn't have. You should never have expectations for people. And if you haven't learned that yet, well, just wait. You'll have an experience that will teach it to you. But I had expected her to just be kinder and softer to me about the entire thing. I just really thought she would be understanding. And she wasn't. And I had to let go of that business partnership and that relationship. And that cut off a lot of contacts from me. She knew people. Some people that we had crossover with are still my friends. Ultimately, though, it served me to get out of that relationship, though, because even though the relationship was a loss in terms of I literally had done sales work for her that she was supposed to pay me for. I had not received edited images that I was supposed to have already received. So like I cut my losses knowing that I was never going to receive that payment. I blocked her and everything. She kept trying to message me on different accounts that I had or that she had. And I was like, I don't want to communicate with you. I'm drawing a line. Like I don't want to be a part of your business or a part of a relationship with you. And I had to cut her out completely. And that experience sort of taught me, like, at the time I felt so bad inside. Like I remember just my heart was pounding, my stomach hurt. I felt so guilty. I felt like I was hurting her business. Like I felt like I was ruining a professional relationship for myself that I like had cared about. I thought I was ending a relationship with someone I felt like I was close to, someone I could talk to about the things that was going on with my husband, all these things. Like it felt like such a loss at the time. Such a loss. And that was like 2021. It felt like such a deep loss. And now I can look back and go, wow, she was taking so much more than she was giving. And that relationship ending was completely providential. Like God's hand was in that loss for me. And I'm thankful now that I lost that person. My life is better for it. It made space for people who loved me better. And I think that that's something that we can all apply to relationships that we've lost, either by our own choice or by someone else's choice. Because ultimately, if you know that you're doing your best and you know you're being honest in your relationships, caring about someone is never going to return void. Even if you give that love to the wrong person, the thing about loving and being in service to someone, even if you're just serving them with your own love and your own feelings, that is not something that returns void. It's not something that you don't get, like, I believe, universal credit for, right? Like you're making deposits into yourself by loving other people. Because people who show up in love are full of love. People who show up in hate and bitterness and frustration, they are filled with that inside. So love is easy access for me. It's easy for me to meet someone and find things about them that I can love. It's pretty rare that I spend any consistent amount of time around someone, even like people in my coffee shop that I've spent time around. It's unusual that I don't find a reason to love them. And I thought for a long time that maybe there was something wrong with me, that like I love too easy. I don't raise the price on my love enough. I think the reality that I realized though is that people have put the price on their love. They've set it too high. They've made it a barrier of entry that not enough people can reach, and it leaves them feeling lonely all of the time. Because if you feel like it needs to take this much for you to feel loved or to give love, that's also how much it takes for you to feel love. So it's like if I need someone to show up for me every day for 6 months, tell me how great I am every day for 6 months before I'll really believe it's true. And there are a lot of women and men who are like that, right? You need to show me consistently that you're going to show up for me, or I'm not going to believe you when you say you love me. I'm not going to take your word for it. And some of that's smart, right? We want to be careful in relationships, and that has definitely burned me before. Believing what someone says without like making it be backed up by actions. It should always be backed up by actions. But some people just put the barrier or they just stick a barrier up and they put the burden of proof, they make it be so large that like no one can reach them, or it's really difficult to reach them. And in my life, those are people I've had to lose, because I know that that's like not for me. I know that I'm not a person that can play a game of like holding my cards close to my chest for a long period of time so that the person feels like that they've done enough for me to be able to say that I care for them. Like I really want to attract people that know that my love, when I say I love you, it doesn't mean I love you like a marriage. It can mean I love you as a human being. I love you for what you give to this community. I love you for how you make my coffee. There's lots of different types of love. And it should be something we can freely give away because we're bubbling up. We're so full of it, right? And we just have it at the ready. And so when we lose people because they're not ready for someone that's eager to give them love, it's not truly a loss. It's not truly a loss. And losing those people, it is completely a way to make space for something new and a fun, exciting experience, or a new man or woman in your life. It's clearing the path so that something that is made to hold you and make you feel safe and care for you and nurture you is on the way. That's why those losses are not actually losses. And they are something that we should embrace. We should see as a part of something that we can be grateful for, because we should have gratitude. We should have gratitude for the things that we lose, because it's always a part of bringing us into our future. Our future self is calling us forward. We're not a function of our past, I don't think. I think that all of our past is what has to happen so that we can be called into our future. We can be called into the power of what we're supposed to become and what the legacy that we're supposed to leave. And that's just how I see loss nowadays. Anyway, I hope you liked this episode. It was kind of long-winded. I hope you stayed with me on this wild car ride, this wild me doing barely a signal so I don't interrupt the video. But hopefully no one died in this this car situation. Thank you so much for listening to me. I don't know how this whole thing, subscribe, like, whatever. I don't have my comments turned on. I really don't even know how to do that because I'm not a YouTube person. I should probably let my 10-year-old show me how to do it. But do all those things, and review the podcast if you can. I don't really have a lot of reviews on Spotify, so that'd be super helpful. Anyway, have a wonderful day, and I appreciate you.
Thanks for listening to my podcast, Daily Dose of B. I really hope you liked it. If you did, leave me a 5-star review. You know the drill. It'll help bump me in the algos, and I will love you forever. Have a great one.